continent of empires, alliances, and simmering rivalries. In the summer of 1914, Europe was a powder keg, waiting for a single spark. That spark ignited the deadliest conflict humanity had ever seen: World War I. Over 4 brutal years, it claimed 16 million lives, redrew maps, toppled empires, and birthed the modern world. From the trenches of France to the deserts of the Middle East, this was the war that tested the soul of nations. For Britain and America, it was a fight for freedom, democracy, and the future. Join us as we journey through the Great War, the story of heroism, horror, and humanity's unbreakable spirit. In the early 1900s, Europe was divided into 2 uneasy camps, like rival gangs eyeing each other across a crowded street. On one side stood the Triple Entente: Britain, the naval powerhouse with its vast empire; France, still smarting from a humiliating defeat to Germany in 1871; and Russia, the sleeping giant with millions under arms but plagued by internal strife. United by a shared fear of Germany's rising might, they formed a defensive pact. Germany, under the ambitious Kaiser Wilhelm II, had built the continent's strongest army and was flexing its industrial muscles. Opposite them was the Triple Alliance: Germany, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, a patchwork of ethnic groups held together by sheer will, and Italy, opportunistic and eyeing French territories. Tensions boiled over in the Balkans, that volatile crossroads of empires. Serbia, a proud Slavic nation, dreamed of uniting its people under one banner, clashing with Austro-Hungary's grip on the region. Then, on June 28, 1914, in Sarajevo, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, was gunned down by Gavrilo Princip, a 19-year-old Bosnian Serb nationalist backed by Serbian radicals. It was an act of defiance that would doom millions. Austro-Hungary, furious and seeing a chance to crush Serbia, issued a brutal ultimatum demanding total submission. Serbia refused the most humiliating terms, and on July 28th, Austro-Hungary declared war. Shells rained on Belgrade within hours. Russia, bound by Slavic ties and honor, mobilized its massive army to defend Serbia. Kaiser Wilhelm II, pledged to support his Austrian ally, saw war with Russia as inevitable, and better now, before Russia's military reforms made it unstoppable. Germany declared war on Russia on August 1st, then on France, Russia's ally, 2 days later. To avoid a two-front war, Germany activated the Schlieffen Plan, a lightning strike through neutral Belgium to encircle Paris and knock France out quickly, then pivot east. But invading Belgium violated its neutrality, guaranteed by Britain. London issued an ultimatum: withdraw or face war. Germany ignored it, and on August 4th, Britain declared war, sending its expeditionary force across the Channel. Suddenly, 6 million men marched to battle. Italy stayed neutral, unbound for offensive wars. America, under President Woodrow Wilson, proclaimed neutrality. Most Americans wanted no part in Europe's mess. But the war's tentacles would soon reach across the Atlantic. The guns of August roared to life. German troops stormed through Belgium, but plucky Belgian defenders at Liège held them for precious days, buying time for the Allies. Reports of German atrocities, massacres of civilians, fueled Allied propaganda, swaying neutral opinion. "The Rape of Belgium," headlines screamed, painting Germany as the villain. France, oblivious to the German sweep, launched Plan 17, a headlong charge into Alsace-Lorraine. But in the Battle of the Frontiers, they were shredded by German machine guns and artillery, losing hundreds of thousands. The British Expeditionary Force, small but professional, clashed with Germans at Mons on August 23rd. Outnumbered, They fought like lions before retreating. "Our soldiers are wonderful," wrote one British officer, "but the odds are fearful." The Allies fell back to the Marne River, just 40 miles from Paris. In a desperate counterattack, the miracle of the Marne, French troops, some ferried by Paris taxis, halted the Germans. Both sides lost 250,000 men, but Paris was saved. What followed was the race to the sea, frantic attempts to outflank each other northward, culminating in the First Battle of Ypres. British Tommies and French Poilus clung to their lines amid mud and slaughter, preventing a German breakthrough. By November, the front solidified into 350 miles of trenches, from the Swiss border to the English Channel. The war of movement was over. The nightmare of stalemate had begun. At sea, Britain flexed its naval muscle. The Royal Navy won at Heligoland Bight, sinking German cruisers and imposing a blockade to starve Germany of food and supplies. But Germany's U-boats struck back. HMS Pathfinder became the first ship sunk by a submarine torpedo, heralding a deadly underwater threat. On the Eastern Front, Russia's invasion of East Prussia ended in catastrophe at Tannenberg. German generals Paul von Hindenburg and Erich Ludendorff orchestrated a masterstroke, encircling and annihilating a Russian army, capturing 90,000 prisoners. Uncoded Russian radio messages sealed their fate. Another rout at Masurian Lakes forced a Russian retreat, with 300,000 casualties in weeks. Austro-Hungary fared worse, defeated by Serbs at Sir and routed by Russians in Galicia, losing 300,000 men and besieging Przemyśl. Beyond Europe, the war globalized. In Africa, Germans raided British East Africa but lost Togoland. British invasions of Cameroon and Southwest Africa stumbled, but in East Africa, Colonel Paul von Lettow-Vorbeck waged a brilliant guerrilla campaign, tying down Allied forces for years. Japan, honoring its British alliance, seized German Qingdao. Pacific Islands fell to Australia and New Zealand. At sea, German Admiral von Spee's squadron sank British cruisers at Cornwall, but was destroyed at the Falklands. In the Middle East, Britain seized Ottoman Basra to secure oil. Ottoman Turkey, joining the Central Powers, bombarded Russian ports and invaded the Caucasus. By year's end, Serbia repelled Austria again, but at horrific cost, 200,000 casualties each. On the Western Front, French attacks in Champagne yielded little for 90,000 dead. In the Caucasus, Turks froze at Sarikamish. Christmas 1914 brought a fleeting miracle: unofficial truces, football in no man's land. "We shook hands and wished each other a Merry Christmas," recalled a British soldier. But the killing resumed. By January 1915, 1 million soldiers lay dead. The short war illusion shattered. 1915 dawned with Zeppelins bombing Britain, King's Lynn and Great Yarmouth, killing civilians in the first strategic air raids. At sea, Britain's blockade bit deep, but U-boats retaliated, declaring British waters a war zone. Dogger Bank saw British cruisers sink a German foe, but the submarine menace grew. On the east, Hindenburg's winter offensive crushed Russians at Second Masurian Lakes, 200,000 lost, half surrendering in blizzards. But Russians captured Przemyśl, netting 100,000 Austrians. Total Austro-Hungarian losses: 2 million. Allies eyed the Dardanelles to knock out Turkey. Warships bombarded forts but lost 3 to mines. Ground troops followed. Anzacs landed at Gallipoli on April 25th, facing fierce Turkish resistance under Mustafa Kemal. Pinned on beaches, they endured heat, flies, dysentery. "Hell on earth," one Aussie wrote. Meanwhile, the Ottoman genocide of Armenians began. Over 1 million deported and murdered, a crime against humanity the Allies vowed to punish. Turkey denies genocide to this day. Gas debuted at Second Ypres. German chlorine clouds choked allies, but reserves were lacking. Crude masks followed, sparking a chemical arms race. British attacks at Neuve-Chapelle and Artois failed amid barbed wire and machine guns. On the east, German-Austrian breakthroughs in Galicia recaptured Przemyśl, forcing Russian retreat. Warsaw fell August 5th. Tsar Nicholas II took command, a fatal error, tying him to defeats. U-boats sank Lusitania, 1,198 dead, 128 Americans, outraging the U.S. Wilson protested. Germany paused passenger attacks after sinking Arabic. Allied offensives faltered. French at Champagne and Artois, British at Loos with gas. 130,000 casualties for yards gained. Fokker Eindeckers dominated skies in the Fokker scourge. Italy joined Allies May 23rd, lured by territory promises. Isonzo assaults cost dearly against dug-in Austrians. Allies landed at Salonika for a Balkan front, but too late. Bulgaria joined Central Powers, overrunning Serbia. Serbs retreated through Albanian mountains, losing a third of their army, the war's highest proportional toll. Gallipoli evacuated flawlessly by January 1916. 250,000 casualties each side. 1915. Allied disasters, no gains. By 1916, war industrialized. Blockades caused shortages, women filled factories, conscription hit Britain, Austria crushed Montenegro. In Africa, British seized Lake Tanganyika, Cameroon fell. Verdun, February 21st. Falkenhayn aimed to bleed France white. A hell of artillery and infantry waves, French rotated divisions vowing they shall not pass. By December, 700,000 casualties. Verdun's scar endures. Easter Rising in Dublin, Irish rebels crushed. In Mesopotamia, Kut surrendered. 9,000 British captives, half died in captivity. Sykes-Picot secretly carved Middle East for Britain/France, betraying Arab promises. Yet Sharif Hussein launched Arab revolt, seizing Mecca. Jutland, May 31st, naval titans clashed. Britain lost more ships but bottled up Germany's fleet. Brusilov offensive, June 4th. Russians surprised Austrians, advancing 60 miles, 400,000 prisoners, but 1 million Russian dead. It relieved Verdun, Asiago. Somme, July 1st. British walked into machine guns. 57,000 casualties day 1, worst in British history. Tanks debuted September 15th near Flers, promising but flawed. Somme ended November. 1 million casualties, 10 miles gained. Romania joined Allies but was overrun. Brusilov halted. Isonzo battles raged. Baghdad fell to Britain. Gaza assaults failed. Aqaba captured by Arabs with Lawrence. Leaders changed. Lloyd George in Britain, Nivelle in France. Wilson's peace bids failed. Attrition ruled, grind the enemy down. Crisis and turning point, 1917's revolutions and resolve. Germany gambled. Unrestricted U-boats resumed February 1st, sinking Housatonic. Zimmermann telegram exposed Mexico plot, pushing U.S. toward war. Russia erupted, bread riots, Tsar abdicated March. Provisional government pledged war continuance, but desertions soared. U.S. declared war April 6th. The world must be made safe for democracy, Wilson said, but troops needed time. U-boats peaked. 886,000 tons sunk April. Britain neared starvation. Arras, British diversion. Canadians took Vimy Ridge. 150,000 Allied casualties. Bloody April. German air superiority. Nivelle offensive, initial gains, then mutinies. Pétain restored order, promising no more waste. Messines, June 7th, 19. Mines exploded, history's biggest blast, local win. Greece joined Allies. Russian July offensive collapsed amid revolution. Convoys curbed U-boats. Reichstag's peace resolution ignored by generals. Passchendaele, July 31st. Mud swallowed men. 440,000 casualties for inches. Isonzo 11. Exhaustion. Allies grew. Brazil, China, laborers, etc. Middle East. Baghdad taken. Gaza won. Jerusalem, December 9th. Allenby walked in humbly. Caporetto, October 24th. German-aided rout. Italy lost 40 miles, 275,000 prisoners. Allies shored up. Bolsheviks seized power November. Armistice sought. Cambrai, November 20th. 400 tanks advanced, but gains lost. Finland independent. Romania armistice. Russia out. America in. Germany planned 1918 knockout. Victory at last. 1918's 100 days. Wilson's 14 points. Peace Vision, League of Nations. Brest-Litovsk, March 3rd. Russia ceded territory. Spring Offensive, March 21st. Stormtroopers nearly split allies. Foch unified command. Amiens halted them. Red Baron downed April 21st. Allied air raids began. Marne 2. Germans stopped. U.S. divisions shown at Cantigny. Below Wood. Amiens. August 8th. Tanks and infantry. Black Day for Germany. 100 days. Trenches broken. Germans retreated. Balkans. Dobropol shattered Bulgaria. Armistice September 29th. Middle East. Megiddo routed Turks. Armistice October 30th. Hindenburg Line breached. Vittorio Veneto. Austria crumbled. Armistice November 3rd. Kiel mutiny. Kaiser abdicated November 9th. Armistice. November 11th, 11 a.m. Compiègne. Last death. American Henry Gunther. Leto Vorbeck surrendered November 25th, undefeated. Versailles. June 1919. Harsh on Germany. Reparations. Guilt clause. Europe redrawn. Poland. Czechoslovakia born. Ottoman dismantled. Middle East mandates sowed seeds. Legacy. 9.5 million soldiers dead, 21 million wounded, 7 million civilians. Empires fell. Communism rose. World War II roots planted. For US/UK, it forged alliances, advanced rights, reminded, freedom's price is eternal vigilance.